Hey Zach, how's it going, man?
Good. We're doing good.
Good. That's welcome to Impact ELR News and Review, Season 1, Episode 7. You've been getting to do anything fun lately?
Oh, not a too lot. Not too much. The
Yeah.
daughter cheers and their basketball team's in playoffs. So,
Yeah.
but that hasn't stopped us from trying to get some stuff going. I know we got a match coming up at Thunder Valley the end of
Oh,
the month
nice.
here, March 28th.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
just
So you
going to
got
be a
about
regional one.
a few weeks for that, so that's good.
Yep. Yep.
And then yeah, we've been having baseball down here, so I've hardly been able to do anything either. But and I don't have, golly, we don't have any matches down here. I think until June, the Deep South event at Arena, the Barrage and the Mirage in June. I think so. I'm sort of in a lull right now, and just trying to get some trigger time
Is
wherever I can.
is Clifton doing something at Arena?
Yeah, so I saw Clifton Williams had posted where they were doing just like an open range day at
Yeah,
Arena.
yeah, something like that. Not really a match, but at least get together and
That's right. That's right. I'm trying to remember what day it was. It was a day I couldn't make it. But yeah, that's a wonderful opportunity. If y'all don't know, if anybody, especially in the Southeast, doesn't know about Arena Training Facility, it's in Blakely, Georgia. You need to look up their website. They have a ton of shooting events, PRS, NRL, 22 competitions, but they also have open range days, and then people put on matches. And so definitely follow them on Facebook, and they're just doing a great job having shooting opportunities for us down here. So,
good,
but
good.
so last time we had talked about optics some, and that's a rabbit hole that never stops. I wanted to see if there's anything
Right.
you wanted to revisit or dive deeper into today on optics for ELR.
Yeah, maybe just we'll wrap it up. I mean, it felt like last time maybe we rushed off there a little bit quick.
All right.
Um, so maybe we'll talk about a little bit like that. Maybe talk about some mounting options once we get through some of the optics. I mean, because I don't think we can overstress uh the importance of your optic. You know, that's where you want to put, like I said, I think we said it before, at least as much money as you put in your rifle to double the money you put in your rifle into your
So
optic.
so let's I want to bring up, before we get into specifics. In I want to bring up a maybe a philosophical or theoretical question and see what your approach on this is. So I know a lot of times people can go too much magnification. That people look at magnification and magnification, but at the same time, ever since the movie The Patriot, right? You've always had this aim small, miss small. And so there's one camp that I probably find myself in more is magnification helps me see smaller stuff, which helps me aim smaller. At the same time, the drawbacks of magnification. There are several of those. How there's all it does is increase the mirage. It darkens the image. It lowers your field of view. It may prevent you from seeing wind changes or giving you just sort of tunnel vision on the target. So, what are your thoughts on magnification for ELR?
I'm with you in the exact same thing. I always get that, especially talking to people that aren't into long range, or they're getting into it or don't understand long range the way we do. The ones that are like 300 yards is on the edge of the earth for them,
Sure.
and we're
Right.
like, yeah, that isn't even like a putt for us. But
Yeah.
uh, no, you're right. It's more about clarity than it
Right.
is in magnification. And I mean, the best way that I can describe that is like your Kiowa binoculars,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and some of those like the big eyes
Right.
that Obermeyer, I think Obermeyer or Oberlanders, I don't I think
Overworks.
Overworks.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of people see these big binoculars, uh, awesome glass, and everybody's like, "Oh, those things must be able to see the moon." And I'm like, you know, people are shocked when you tell them most of them are powers between 20 and 27.
That's right. Well, I know I've had people that know nothing about ELR and they just asked me about it. And one of the questions, how do you see targets that far? And they don't realize 20, 15, 20, you can see them. I've had people say, "Oh, y'all must be using scopes that go to 80." And I think March and a couple other people have some scopes now. They're like 8 to 80, and you don't see them on the ELR firing lines. I mean, that's not what you're looking for, is that kind of
Right.
magnification. But it's one of those things that sort of conceptually you would think, oh, I need as much magnify. I want to get in there and see it, and they must need all the magnification they can get to see a target at 2 miles. And it's one of the things you quickly realize you don't really need a ton of magnification, and it can work against you. And so I was just curious. That's a conversation we've never really had on where you fall in that. And so I was just curious, yeah, sort of how you felt about magnification. So
Yeah, absolutely. I put more weight on clarity than
yeah,
magnification. I mean, you can get a lot of powerful scopes out there, and there's a lot of stuff going on inside those scopes. Uh, that's probably out of my league. I understand the basics of it. You know, along how long the scope is all about spacing those lenses for magnification, for clarity.
right,
Um, like I said, and like I said, getting those like Hansel makes a lot of good scopes. Look how compact they are. You know what I mean?
right,
But they don't
right,
have huge magnification ranges either. You
right.
know, I think Vortex explained to me once too. A lot of times you want to keep that like that 4 to 27. You know,
Sure.
that's the straight. You don't want a 3 to 80. A 3 to 80 covers too much ground. There's too many variables in there to try to eliminate and get that really high quality optical picture that you're trying to see. The other thing I think you touched on, like I said, is magnification. The other thing I think a lot of people will like, well, I don't know what I want to put into an optic because my eyes are bad. You know, I need that magnification and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Right.
if you use your optic correctly, it becomes your eyeglass. Even if you have, you know, whatever you're trying to use your lenses to correct,
Right.
if adjusted properly, your scope will take care of that. That's why a lot of people that use glasses sometimes shoot without them because
Right.
they're able to adjust for wearing their glasses. Most of the time, if they wear their glasses while they shoot, it's so that they could read their turrets and such.
Well, and I would say that's probably one of the most overlooked parts of mounting a scope and getting your optic ready to shoot once you've picked one is the diopter adjustment. You know, making sure your reticle clarity is there. Like people can sometimes skimp on that aspect. They'll spend days trying to get it perfectly level, but then they won't take the time to use a bare wall or the sky or something to really focus on that diopter adjustment and really get the clarity they need. I mean, I'm guilty of that.
Right.
I focused on so many other things that I realized that I haven't really spent the time, getting it perfectly adjusted for the eyeballs. You know, that's one of the things I really focus on now is cranking the magnification all the way up and really trying to get it mounted on the usually a Picatinny rail to where I'm in a shooting position at prone, not off a table or anything, to where it's set for me. And those little things matter in ELR. It's one of the easy
Right.
things to get past.
And believe it or not, I've actually seen it done really um, scientifically with just two people and a card.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of people underestimate the importance of what it is like to do that. And it can be easily as done as putting a white piece of paper back on your cheek rest and shining a light through the front of your scope, and you'll find that really fine BB sized circle that
Right.
focuses like a magnifying glass focusing on the ground. If
Right.
you get that really fine BB on that paper should be exactly where not the front of your eyeball, but kind of like the imaginary line of where your pupil is inside. You
I
want
got you.
those two spots to be lined up. And
Okay.
like I said, it's so easy to do. People can say, "Is my eyeball right?" I can put a card up there and say, "Where do you put your head?" Put a card up there and shine that light through there in 10 seconds. Tell them your optic isn't sitting in the ideal spot for you, or it is.
Well, I've never done that. I mean, that's a great piece of advice that now I'm going to check. So let me ask: do you want to walk through sort of your scope mounting technique, or do you think that's something we should get in some other time?
We can talk about that.
Okay. So regardless of your optic, how does Zach Moran mount a scope?
One start with a good mount, solid mount. Uh, but we can talk about that. But like we'll assume for this quick discussion that yes, you're going to start with a good mount,
Sure.
good one piece mount. Not that people don't make two, but just the rigidity of it and everything else, the aligning of it, keeping the scope
Sure.
tube in line. I like a high quality MPA or
Sure.
equal style one piece where you know that the bores are lined up, they're honed precision to grip a certain diameter
Right.
main tube. So provided you've done that, I think the next thing is to get it set. Um, I don't even worry about leveling it as much until I set that where I want it. And I
Sure.
told
Sure.
you, I just described that to you really quick by, okay, I know where my head sits. I'll sometimes put a mark on my
Hmm.
cheek piece if I'm doing it by myself and kind of imaginary where that line is.
Okay.
Uh, and I'll use that piece of paper with the white through there, say, yep, the scope is, once the scope is sitting in its close location where I think it needs to be,
Sure.
then I'll worry about leveling it. And a
I
lot of
got you.
times, like I said, you have levels on your rifle. You have the best flat spot on your optic anybody will tell you to use if you can get to it is that
Yeah.
right off the bottom that faces your pick rail.
I
If you
got you.
can get that scope, I know you can level a scope and a mount really well that way, getting that scope level. At the end of the day, I always trust a plumb bob at 50 yards. If
Okay.
I'm fine tuning it, a plumb bob doesn't matter where you are on a hillside. That plumb bob hangs level.
Good.
So
Yeah.
once you're behind your rifle and your vertical rectical follows that plumb bob line in a shooting position, that's
Hmm.
as vertical as you're gonna get it. I think a lot of people underestimate that too. You can get everything mechanically correct,
Right.
but if your natural position of holding the rifle cants it, it's all for nothing.
Sure. Sure.
You,
Well,
you,
and that was something I fought early on is coming from just hunting and everything. I had a natural cant that I tended to cant to the left slightly, and that's something I really had to work on getting things leveled. And like I say, I use a plumb bob as well, just because I know, like you say, that's hanging vertically perfect.
right, gravity ensures that hangs perfectly level.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
because like I said, I know it's really deceiving anybody that's done target practice, at 100 or 300 yards. Sometimes you'll swear that target rack is square, but it's not. And
No,
it's
it
so
is.
easy to get that thrown off. You've got to trust your levels. Like I said, you'll have ones on your rifle, you'll have ones on your optic, but I think the key is making sure that um, it's level for you. You know what I mean? Because like I said, if you do can it and you can it
Hmm.
all the time,
Hmm.
you can't if you can't work that out, if there's some physical limitation there that's not comfortable for you, or at
Sure.
some point, yeah, it is possible because still that barrel has to be center line, and a
Right.
barrel's round. So look at it that way. So even if the rifle is canted over,
Hmm.
the barrel is still in the center of that optic, even if that's not sitting at what the gun says is level.
Sure. Sure. And I mean, look, as long as you can be consistent, you can make almost
Right.
anything work. It's just hard to be consistent sometimes with if you're not trying your best to be cognizant of it.
And like I said, at the end of the day, what really makes that level, or I shouldn't say the vertical, is really where it is because it comes down to you adjusting. And when you
Sure.
adjust as far as we do, not just clicks, but sometimes we're talking revolutions.
Well, and that's what
And
I was going to
and
say.
at 10 or uh, 11, sometimes 12 mils per revolution, and
Mhm.
as much as what 25 or 30
Sure.
MOA per revolution.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if your optic is canted to your point of aim, that elevation isn't true either. It's
Right.
going up at an angle. And
And just
I
for
think that's
somebody
what
that
people don't realize that.
and somebody, yeah, for somebody that's not done this, if you think about it, you got a crosshair. Well, if you're dialing and it's candid, you're also dialing at an angle. As
Right.
easy as it's going up. That's why it matters on level. And like you say, especially at the distances we shoot, it's sort of like in race cars. Like if you're pushing something, it's sort of like we were talking about with magnification. If you're pushing the mechanical aspects right to their limit, that's where your margin of error may become a bigger issue. If you're dialing all the way up, if you're dialing the magnification all the way up, it's at those extremes where errors may show their biggest deviations.
Right.
And especially with dialing is, if you're dialing, you know, 70, 80 MOA, uh, even a little bit of can't shows up by the end of that. So,
Right.
but so speaking of optics, what are some optics you have used in the past? Do you mind going into sort of your some personal setups you have now or that you've used in the past and have changed and why you've changed
Um, I use a lot of Vortex product.
them? Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had really good luck with the Gen 2 and Gen 3. Uh, do I think they're the very best? Probably not, but they're they're probably some of the best that I can
Sure,
afford, and
sure.
they're great glass.
Great
I think
glass.
you can and they're repeatable.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat their warranty. You know, I'm the one kind of guy that's got to be able to buy once, cry once, and they're one with their warranty. That's exactly right. If I ever have any problem with that optic, if I run it over with a truck, they're like, yeah, that sucks. Here, send it back to us. We'll fix it. You know, some of
Yeah.
your other brands have good warranties, but their only warranty their defect. They're like, man, I'm sorry for your luck on that.
Well, and I will say that's probably the biggest game changer in optics. Apart from Vortex glass and price points and mechanical reliability, when they came out with that warranty, it made everybody change their game. That was probably one of the biggest game changes in my lifetime in optics. That everybody or a lot of people, a lot of other companies have had to follow suit, and Vortex really, kudos to Vortex for doing that. What are any cons to Vortex that you see or that you've experienced?
Um, I think as far as scopes go, they tend to
Mhm.
be heavy.
Yeah,
So if you're
that's I was the
counting,
weight was going to be the one thing that usually came to mind.
yeah, especially in there. I mean, the Gen 3 is not as bad as the Gen 2. Gen 2 is pretty heavy, but I mean, those things that created at first to follow some mil specs, they're bomb proof too. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Uh, you can pretty much drive a fence post with them,
right.
and they hold their zero, and the everything holds up. You know, I've actually been blessed with having worked at Peterson before and got to
Hmm.
work with a lot of different companies. I've
Hmm.
actually got to use Night Force. Again, they're another great company.
Sure. Super durable, very big
Right.
reputation for durability.
And I've gotten to use the US Optics. They make a lot of good stuff.
Hmm.
Their stuff is harder to find ELR type related, but um, yeah, so I've got to use a wide range, you know, the tangent. Even
Right.
got to play around with some zero compromisers, eco as we call them.
Sure.
Uh, Another great, great company, make great optics. If you're buying anything along those lines, you're, as they say in our industry, hunting with the right dog.
Right. Right.
Uh, you know, not that there aren't other companies out there. There are some new ones coming along there. You know, is
Hmm.
optics go, they're getting better. They're
Hmm.
bringing the price down. You know, like VCRs. You know, when they first came out, were hundreds of dollars. Now you can go buy a VCR. Well, that may be getting harder. We're dating ourselves, but uh, VCRs are actually I heard they're coming back.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But but yeah, now you could buy one for $40. But uh,
So, so what? Before you got into Vortex, or since you were coming from a PRS world, you were sort of already in the Vortex ecosystem when you came over to ELR. Or
yeah, yeah. Actually, before Vortex, I used Burris, and I think Burris makes some great
sure,
optics as well too, especially up at their higher end.
sure.
They make a great economy line. Uh,
And let me just say, probably if you're interested in ELR, one of the drawbacks is going to be you're going to be looking at the high end of any
right.
company that makes optics. Like it's just the way it is, nature of the beast.
So,
Um,
same thing we said the last time. If you
yep.
can't see it, you can't hit it.
No, I've got one of the probably this was the first scope I ever really shot long range with was a Sig Tango 6. I don't have it mounted on anything right now, and so I grabbed it real quick before we got started. But it was a Tango 6, which was their top of the line, 5x30x56. I put some ad mount scope caps, which I love that guy. I think he's in Oregon or somewhere, but fantastic scope caps that are super cool. This is a first focal plane. I liked it. The main reason I got it at the time, and I put it on a 6.5 Creedmoor. That was ELR for me at the time, right?
Right.
And but it had a built-in digital level. You were talking about levels, and they had a
Yep.
neat feature with you could press the side cap and it would turn on an electric level that you could see in the scope. And so I thought, man, what a cool feature. The problem with this one was it's not a Christmas tree reticle. It's just a duplex with hash marks. And as I
Right.
got more into ELR, that's one of the things we talked about is you want windage and you want a reticle that has that built in. But it's always been a good scope. It still serves me well. It'll go back on something soon. It had a Geisele one piece mount on it. I think it was a 20 MOA rail, but ultralight, machined out of one piece of aluminum, matched, similar to Masterpiece and all those. But this was always a
Yep.
good. I just happened to have it, and I said, "Well, I'll grab that." Before we
I
get
think
started.
Gray Ops makes great products. Area 419 all
Sure.
making really good mounts, and I think
Yeah.
even in the ELR they get into some adjustable ones.
Sure. Sure.
Uh,
We'll
but
we'll we'll do we'll need to do an episode devoted to mounts at some point and just
right.
talk about them because again, everything in ELR is a rabbit hole that you can go down. But I'm trying to think as far as any other optic related issues that we've talked about. Anything else you can think of optic related that we would need to get into? You think?
No. Maybe let our people that are watching. Do you have any questions
Sure.
on optics? Shoot us a text or answer down there in the question and Q&A and say, hey, you guys didn't talk about this, or what do you think on that? Or
Yeah, we'll be glad
we'll
to.
gladly
Yep.
throw that in there.
We're glad to do some shorts possibly or some shorter episodes just devoted to some of those topics. So if you have something you want to know about, we definitely are not experts. I haven't tested thousands of optics, but I've tried a pretty good range of them now. Just in my own, always, on my dime. And of course, I'm not sponsored by anybody. And so we'll always try to give you our honest opinion of stuff. So if you want to know about one, if we've used it, I'll be glad to talk to you about it or to let's do a video on that.
Yeah, and come find us at one of these matches, one of these ranges, and
yeah,
we'll let you look at what we got, and like we said before, the community we're in. If we don't have it, we probably know somebody who does, and they're going to be more than willing to let you get behind their optic and
yep.
try it out.
A match is a trade show. If you want to know about something, come to a match. Anybody that has it, they're going to let you lay it, especially on glass. They're going to want you to look through it to let you see, just so they can get your feedback. Because we're all the time wanting to know what other people think about our stuff too, and whether they see the same things we see because everybody's eyes are different. So definitely, come out to a match is your best chance to get real world looks and real world conditions with different optics. So definitely do that.
Yep. And like I said, we're not sponsored by any one person. But yeah, I'll run down a quick list. Like I said, all these people, you're hunting with the right dog. If you're looking, like I said, at the brands we've already mentioned, the Vortex, the Night Force, the Zico, the March, Zeiss, Leupold.
Yep.
All making really good optic. If you're looking at their optic and what you hear people saying is good for PRS and into ELR, you're looking at a good optic with any of those names. You mentioned the SIG, SIG making a good optic. And I know we're missing a few. I mean, still, but like I said, let price guide you because it is pretty much you're going to get what you pay for.
Yeah. Yeah. Start at the flagship and move down to your price.
Right.
If you can afford the flagship in any reputable line, start there. You're looking for tube size, plenty of elevation, clarity. And I would say that's like you say, clarity probably first.
And a lot of those, we're talking first focal plane.
Sure.
I think something that people look past a lot of times is the size of that reticle. Keep in mind, if you're a first focal plane and you got something that goes to 40 power, those crosshairs get big.
Yes.
Somebody will go, man, I didn't realize, especially that's what you have especially when you have that really big range.
Sure.
If you don't have something really big at 40 power, down at 10, you can't see it.
And that's, I was going to say, that's the other side of it is if you're not going to use all that magnification, you better, if you're only ever going to get to 20, you better know how big that reticle is at 20 and whether your eye can pick it up.
Right. And if it's clear for you.
Yep.
That's one of the things. Like it covers too much of a target, you know what I mean?
Yep. Well, and you see a lot of these scopes now have at least one reticle design that has a floating dot in the middle. or
Yep.
something in the middle to obscure less of the target. That has been something that I would say probably in the last 3 to 4 years has become a bigger design in optics, that it's not as busy right in the center to help avoid obscuring any of the target, or as little of it as possible while still giving you a precise, finite aiming point.
But definitely, yeah, look at that. That's a really good point
Let
to
me ask
look
you
at.
this.
But like I said, look at
Well,
the
go ahead.
entire reticle because
Yeah.
honestly, I can probably count on one hand the number of times that I hold center.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times I'll go for the center of the target, but it's not with my center point. Because I'm one of those guys that holds more wind.
Sure. Sure.
You
Me
know what I
too.
mean?
Me too.
Sometimes I'll try to get the elevation. If
Yes.
you tell me to give me a click at elevation, a lot of times I'll give it a click, uh, a tenth in my case, or 2/10. I will dial that. But a
Right.
lot of times with the wind, it's just so shifty.
Sure.
Unless I've got a really steady left to right or right to left, where I know maybe the first mill for
Right.
sure. At that point, again, I'll dial the first mill, but
Yeah.
usually it's not to hold center. It's the
No.
okay, I'm going to add, I know I'm going to start with a mill, and then hold 2/10, just so that I'm not holding so far to the left or right that I get out of that focal point of the center,
Right.
so I'll dial that big chunk of wind.
Right.
But you can't do that, especially, I mean, I don't know why it is. It seems like every range we go, the predominant wind direction is in your face and it floats from 11 to 1, which means you can be holding right and holding left on the same string.
Right. It is that switching headwind and tailwind will just get you. Um, all right. So if y'all want to know anything else about optics, let us know. Y'all want us to do a deep dive on a particular subject. We'll do it to the extent we can and give you as much good information as we can, or at least information. I won't even say it's good information. I'll say it's
Right.
information.
We'll
Y'all can
talk
always
about
evaluate it. So yeah, that's right. That's right. So let's talk about. We've got about I say 10 minutes left. Talk about. So we got Black Bear coming up next weekend.
Yep, this
All right.
coming weekend, the 14th and 15th.
And so you've shot it before. I've never shot it. So tell me what if I were, and I'm not going to get to make it this time. I would love to, but my schedule's not going to allow it. Tell me what I would expect at Black Bear.
A good time. First
Good.
off,
Yeah.
Jordan is going to make sure that you have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
He's the life of the party per se. There, he's match directing with a couple other individuals there, and him and Naomi, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
do an exceptional job at not making you feel just like family and friends.
That's right.
When you get there, you'll understand, why you see so many people wearing Black Bear jerseys. It's because it is like one big family, one big group of people
Gotcha.
that helps each other get through this, and they really enjoy shooting. So you can go there and expect to have a lot of fun. Uh, and it's a very interesting place to shoot. I like it. I shot there in November for the first time.
Okay.
There's a lot of angle shooting. I think we've
So
talked about that
so
before.
tell me a little bit about the terrain.
Very mountainous.
Okay.
You're shooting from an elevated position up on a hillside. Most of all of their competition targets the last time, and I've been talking to Jordan some about this, helping them talk about, hey, what do we want to use for a format and how we're going to run this. But he's going to go with, I think we're going to use, if you've been there before, we're going to use the heavy uh, range like we did the last time. I've seen some pictures today. Looks like they did some more work and they recarpeted it up there. It's
Okay.
a platform, and it looks like maybe they have three positions now, whereas the
Okay.
last couple times there's only been two shooters down at any given time. We're going to shoot light on Saturday. We'll shoot heavy on Sunday.
How many
Um,
shots are in the match?
30 rounds. One thing that Black Bear does a little differently, and I had to adjust to it. Uh, it was fun. Is they do 15 round strings, so you're going to shoot three sets
Okay.
of five, three targets, 5 shots at each, and then that what that does is that means that you'll shoot twice a day.
Okay.
You'll shoot twice on Saturday as a light shooter. If you shoot heavy, you'll shoot twice on Sunday. So you'll have two different arrays. Each array will have 3 targets in it. I know after my first string uh, down there in November, Jordan was spotting for me, and I was talking to him about the 2 targets, and he's like, "I don't want to interrupt you, but he says, you got another another transition and 5 more rounds to send," and I'm like, "Oh man, you're right." uh,
So, so how much time do they give? Since that's a little bit
six
longer
minutes
string.
on average, you're going to get 6 minutes. You pretty much go like 2 minutes per
Okay.
target. So, and I know people start, oh man, that time and 3 targets. His targets are usually troop line to a degree. If
Okay.
not, they are kind of in a line or at least in a predictable string. You're not usually back and forth. You're usually
Okay.
up and left, up and left, up and left.
I
Uh,
got you. What
um,
what kind of yardages for, let's say, for light gun first and then heavy gun? What typically, what kind of yardages roughly do you see?
if I'm not mistaken, I think somewhere around 11 to 1200 was where you start,
Okay.
and around 21, 22 is where you stop.
Okay, that's good.
Um, and I believe that's for both light and heavy. He
Okay.
usually, um, if he doesn't run the same course of fire, for both, sometimes he'll change the targets. He'll change
Okay.
out targets will be different for heavy than they were for light. Sometimes they move them a little bit, but
Roughly what size targets are they do you
two MOA.
remember?
They're not small or not big. They're what I would call standard size targets.
Okay.
Uh, all of them, because the angle, at the bare minimum, the angle you're shooting at, if it doesn't have a backstop, it has a backstop.
I got
Uh,
you.
his place is generally pretty good at picking up splash.
Okay.
Uh, so that's always nice, you know.
And if I remember right, I've heard people say you're shooting more downhill for the targets here. So
Especially if we shoot from the heavy range, everything will be down. I think from the light, sometimes you get to almost level.
okay. Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, at the heavy range, you are looking at somewhere between 12 to 13 down to start, and as it gets as shallow as 9, I think, degrees
Okay.
down.
Okay.
So the theory for the day is down. You're going to be shooting, which I think is neat because you're in a mountainous area, and it does. It feels like you're up on this hillside shooting down into the valley.
Right. Yeah. And
Uh,
that is different for ELR. And that, I've never got to do that. That's one of the reasons I really want to get up there and shoot black bear, other than, like you said, Jordan and Naomi and Daniel Lynn and all the good people up there. So
yes, yeah,
that's a
great
really
shooters,
unique.
great. So you can go there and count on having fun.
Okay.
That's going to be foremost. That's going to be one of the big things on their thing. Now he does. If you are headed there, tune up day will be on Friday. You're usually going to have a zero range, which is what you'll see is what we call them like the parking area.
Okay.
Uh, a lot of the parking there is like along the side of a dirt road.
Okay.
One thing that I liked about the area that he's choosing to use again this time, which is the heavy, there's a little more space there to set your stuff, and everybody can kind of gather around and be ready to move your stuff in and out. It's not a big long walk. You're pretty much hanging out in the same spot all day.
I got you.
Um, if you have some issues getting your gear there, it is accessible, especially in the morning for driving up, getting your gear unloaded, and then going back and parking in the parking area.
I got you.
They try to accommodate you that. If they can't get you in and out of there, usually one of his guys on a side by side will help you tod your gear in there.
Okay.
Um, and it's not that far. I would say within 100 yards, maybe a little more. I'm bad at judging that kind of distance because it's
Yeah.
beautiful up there. The walk even from the firing line back to where you park your car. I know me and Mike Drake did it a couple times when we were packing our stuff up on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible walk. If I think I carried my gun and something with me the first time, and I come back and got my bag and the rest of my bags and stuff on another trip, so I didn't feel like I had to take it all at one time. It wasn't so far that I'm like, I'm gonna load myself down and make one big rock. But um, it is a nice area.
How's lodging and everything near there?
There isn't a whole lot. Me and
Sure.
some guys, thanks
Typical
again.
ELR in that.
Right, yeah, Airbnb it. Plenty of places to eat around it. They're right there in the backyard, Appomattox is right there. And there, so if you're into history and all that, come up, see some of the Appomattox courthouse is there. Really nice, and that it's in that area of Virginia. I know we probably differ there. Me and you probably see Appomattox a little differently than
I would,
as a Yankee going down there. I like to go down and talk to them. They don't usually want to talk. I said, man, they make a big deal over over that down there.
yeah, I would love to go see it. Most people don't know this, but where I'm from is actually near the capture site of Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, and so I would love to see both aspects of that. So that's a part of the reason when I finally do get to go to Black Bear, I want to make it a multi-day trip so I can pick up some of that history because that is really unique.
Yeah, the battlefields are all right there, literally within 10 or 15 minutes of
that's crazy
of the range. You drive right through that. Like the last time we stayed, right there. I think me and my buddy stayed in a Super 8 or something in Appomattox, which is literally 20 minutes from the range.
That's
And you
cool.
drive
That's cool.
right past the battlefields and the courthouse and all that, where all that took place. A
That's
lot of
amazing.
history there.
So what else? Any other piece of advice, last minute advice you'd give a new shooter for Black Bear?
Um, no, you're like I said, just be ready. You're going to be shooting downhill. If you get on Jordan, know him on Facebook or whatever, he's usually posting pictures. You'll see
And
they've
and let me say,
upgraded the
it's Jordan Congdon,
yes.
Congdon. You know, they again Black Bear Shooting Club, shooting team, but yeah, Jordan Congdon, Congdon.
Yeah, if you get on his Facebook page, he's glad to friend you, and he posts a lot of stuff for Black Bear there. You'll see some of the improvements they made, and like I said, even from there, you'll see like wow, uh, it's some nice scenery where you're sitting up there and you're dropping those projectiles down there in the valley.
So speaking of knowing what's going on in the ELR world, anything you want to plug for that?
No, we're still watching that ELR Alliance
Yeah.
grow. Get on there. You'll see that we've started to do some live scoring. Go on there, get registered with the ELR Alliance. There's free to register, and there's also the pay to join. I think it's about $50 to join, and that tracks your ranking and stuff.
Right.
Uh, we're going to be doing the live scoring this weekend down there.
Yeah, they did that at White Oak Creek, a couple of weekends ago now, and that was really cool to watch. I really enjoyed being able to keep up with some of the shooters I knew there and seeing how people were going. And I know, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure all the money goes to maintaining the website and the organization right now. And so
right.
it's still early, but they're working on it and they want to make it a home for ELR. So
yeah, and that's what your people are wondering. What is that? What does that fee go toward right now? All the fees right now are just going to getting this off the ground. A lot of people behind the scenes, Clay being one of them, has put a lot of his own money into this right now to get
and
this off to start doing the web design.
and just so I'm clear on that, that's Clay Roden with long shot cameras.
Right. Yeah,
Right. Yep.
he's put a lot of himself out there. He's got a lot vested in this and with no return.
Sure.
Uh,
No, that's right.
uh, Truly a genuinely good guy. Support them as much as you can because, like I said, he's done a lot to be a part of this and trying to get the alliance what it is and unified with the scoring and the ranking system.
Sure.
That'll be naturally. And like I said, I think as you guys follow along, you're going to see a lot of good stuff happening.
All right. So we had some technical difficulties and I lost Zack, which is sometimes difficult when you're trying to record a meeting over, I don't know, 13 hours away from each other. But what we were stressing again, go back and watch as far as the optics. And we wish all of our shooters luck and everybody that's going to the Black Bear match this coming up weekend. We hope y'all have great conditions and have a lot of impacts on target. And so if you have any questions, anything you want to see us do, anything you're interested with in the optics we've talked about or different optics considerations on scopes, anything else you're interested in, let us know in the comments and like and subscribe. That'll just help us reach more people. And then otherwise, we look forward to seeing you on the firing line and we hope everything goes well. Thank you.